Hey everyone, thanks for joining this crowdcast from Moonbeam Universe set up by the Moonbeam Network. We really appreciate everyone joining in. So we've got a great group of us today to just talk through NFTs. Title being Post-Mint Reality, NFTs and Real World Applications. So we're going to cover a few topics between us, but I mean, to start, I think we'll just do some intros so everyone's familiar with who we are. So I'm KBL. I'm the founder of Kusama Kingdom and also Teddy DAO, which is an NFT charity platform launching on Moonbeam this month. We're partnered with Just Giving, and essentially the way it works is we auction off a Teddy every day, and people bid and pick a charity, and if they win, the charity gets their bid, and you get the NFT. So yeah, just a way to try and bring in traditional donors into Web3 while also educating charities on the power of crypto. Well, I'll pass it off to Zoombies.
Hi, I'm Ryan Price. I'm the founder over at Zoombies NFT World. So we're working on projects that connect people in amazing and memorable ways. So we've got one of the first NFT collections that launched on Moon River, and we're bringing our next iteration of that to Moonbeam over probably the next few weeks, and some other exciting projects on the way. Thanks for having me today.
Moonfit, you wanna go next?
Yeah, hi guys. My name is Peter. I'm development manager of Moonfit. We are on Moonbeam. We deployed Moonbeam back in July 2022, and currently we are on the incentivized testnet. So Moonfit is a Web3 NFT lifestyle app, and we are on a mission to promote an active and healthy lifestyle for all users over the world using Web3 and NFT. And we are open to all forms of training as long as calories are burned. And through our rewarding system, users are motivated to get started training, exercising, and maintain that healthy lifestyle. So yeah, currently we're on incentivized testnet, and we are both available on iOS and Android. So really excited to be here, guys, and talk about real life applications of NFTs. I hope that this Twitter space will give you a lot of unique insights from the amazing people over here. Yeah.
Awesome. I'll take the next turn. So my name is Leon. I'm the COO and co-founder of Metaverse Game Studio, and I'm here to talk about Bit Hotel, our social open world game that's currently playable on desktop and soon to be playable on mobile in a week or two. And yeah, we are deployed on Moonbeam. Have around 100,000 signed up players currently playing, even though we're still in beta. And yeah, would love to talk more about NFTs, their use cases, and real world applications.
And I'm Mr. Tin. So I am the co-founder of GLMR Apes DAO. It's the first DAO that launched on Moonbeam Network. So together with the DAO, we operate a game called The Great Escape that is co-built by the community and with the active participation of the players. And so that's basically a sort of casual game that is now going to evolve into a hybrid casual game that will be soon made available on mobile in just 1 month. So we're very excited to launch that on mobile, and very happy to be here to discuss about the NFTs and their applications in the real world.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. So I think first topic to get us going should be around adoption, right? Like this is the be all and end all, really. Like we need adoption. One of the hardest things I think, at least recently, is getting that engagement, getting the more users on, getting the user growth, which is amazing that Bit Hotel you guys have 100,000 people. That's really cool. In terms of getting that next wave of people on, and I guess people have sometimes a negative connotation around NFTs, the general public. What sort of steps do you think we need to be taking as an industry to ensure like security and credibility of our projects going forward? I'll open that up to anyone.
I can jump in there. get things started. So yeah, I mean, this is a big challenge that we're seeing in the industry. And it's like any other technology adoption curve. You know, it's the barriers to entry, right? So we saw the internet in the early days, very technical, it's academic, military. And it was only really when like even email adoption, you know, there's a good amount of it, but it was the web. The web was the killer app that really everybody had, you know, it was seamless, it was easy, it was ubiquitous, you know, every platform could adopt it. Open standards, you know, that's really when things really start to light up. And you can, you know, we're still to today, we're building on the web. The web is the ultimate platform, right? So I think what we're kind of missing in this space, and it's coming, is removal of those barriers to adoption and making it easy so that, you know, think about the process of setting up a wallet and connecting and, you know, just all these new terms and ways to do things. It's not for the everyday person. Like, try to explain that to a 5-year-old or, you know, an older person who's, you know, didn't grow up, you know, on a keyboard constantly. But even like the Gen Zs, like, you know, they're used to point and click and swipe. They're not, you know, writing down secret phrases and all this weird cryptic stuff. So one of the things that has me excited, I'm not an expert on it all, I've only recently started to read about it and look at it, is the smart accounts that is kind of trending across, you know, Twitter and the news and everything, where they're looking at the CRC 4337 standard, I think. So that might be something, and maybe there's somebody else here at the table that might know more about it that can chime in. But yeah, that has me excited for adoption.
Awesome. To chip in there maybe for a second. I saw some comments in the chat talking about some products that got a lot of adoption, like Steppen. There were some others mentioned, and I think what they did well and why they got, you know, millions of signups is they removed some of those barriers. So as you said, having your own custodial wallet might be hard. You need to keep your keys. What Steppen did is they basically abstracted that away, right? They made a Steppen wallet, and you could basically sign up with your Gmail. The authentication there made it secure, removed one of those barriers, allowing users to actually use Web3 without having the feeling of using Web3. And I think that's definitely the future, where all the friction is removed, and people can just use it like Web2, but you have the security and the reliability and the basically all the perks of Web3 that can offer. So great comment.
And we saw that with Reddit as well, right? I don't know if you guys followed when they released called them digital collectibles. People signed up with Gmail, they paid with PayPal or with their credit card, low cost, and they sold millions of dollars worth within a weekend. Put them in vaults instead of wallets. So yeah, completely, it's this abstraction away from the scary words of NFTs, wallets, Web3s, and stuff that I think is the next frontier for sure. And then I guess moving on to, obviously, cross-chain is a massive topic as well now, and especially in the Polkadot ecosystem, right, with the interoperability nature. But even beyond that, how do you guys see with your projects the cross-chain capabilities helping to drive adoption, and what are the benefits you see of having this multi-chain approach? I guess the Great Escape, would be great to hear from you.
Yeah, so I think one of the great chance when we are positioned on Moonbeam in a way is that we can play on both sides of the cross chain. We can play on the EVM compatibility of it, so that allows us to increase our reach, because suddenly you can grant access, for example, on our game or on any of your projects to people who have tokens or have NFTs from Polygon, BSC, Ethereum. So that increases your reach by a factor of 10 or 100 even. So that's just a really good way to get in more people. And I think in the near future, what we're going to see also is within the ecosystem, within the Polkadot, thanks to the XCM technology, we're going to also see a lot of integrations that is done simultaneously throughout the different parachains. And so being able to play on both, I think is very good for the reach, and very good as well for the sort of new partnerships we can develop. because what we can see now is that you have some very cool products or some very cool games or some very cool things that are developed maybe on other chains. And so being able to connect that to our own respective projects is going to be very, very exciting, and I think a big factor of growth, not only for just Moonbeam or our own projects, but for the entire Polkadot ecosystem as a whole.
I just want to. Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead, KBL. Sorry.
No, please.
Yeah, I just want to add in a little bit about the cross-chain and also the multi-chain here, because I really love the idea of cross-chain and multi-chain. And Moonfit was originated with the vision of a multi-chain DApp, in which we believe that eventually users will not need to care about which blockchain they're using, but only the DApp itself. So I think on Moonbeam here, we have all the tools or all the necessary tools needed to do that with the connected smart contracts and also the XCM from Polkadot. And with the connected smart contracts, we can have more interaction and we can have more interoperability between this chain and another chain. So just imagine like you're staying in one chain and you can call an action on another chain, and those NFTs can interact with each other. So that's going to be really cool. And it opens up, as Mr. Teen said here, it opens up a lot of partnerships and collaborations between ecosystems, because each ecosystem, in my opinion, has their own unique strengths and weaknesses, and they all have their specific traits of their own ecosystem. So opening up to cross-chain and multi-chain is is an inevitable way for NFT projects to go with.
Yeah, and I think it's about taking it away from the user, right, and them not even knowing at the end of the day if it's cross-chain or anything. But I mean, BitHotel, you guys are all over this. From your project is on multi-chains, and you're hitting it, so you must have some great experience on this.
Yeah, no, I first of all, I want to say, Peter, your points are very, very strong. I definitely think that diversifying and giving users a way to interact with the different chains will basically grow the pie, right? It will. Mm-hmm. It's not like a competition between chains. It's like as long as everybody can experience it all and pick their favorite, chain or color or way of interacting with a specific ecosystem, is definitely the way forward. So how we tackled this is, we're currently built on BNB, Moonbeam, and Casper. And we basically, our game is basically like a centralized database. We keep track on who's on what and what permissions everybody has based on the items that they have in their wallet and the chain they are connected with. But all the players, no matter on which chain they are, they can socialize, they can come together, they can play the same mini games. But each chain has its own unique items, its own unique perks, and its own unique access to specific areas around the game. So in this way, it really it coexists, it synergizes in a way, and it gives users incentive to go on a specific chain as well and learn about that and learn about all these quirks. So yeah, we definitely see this as the future, and we want to be at the forefront of this and embrace this cross-chain future that we envision.
Yeah, awesome. And I think the other huge things for NFTs, right, and the next frontier, the way I kind of think about like cryptocurrencies is disrupting the financial world, and I see NFTs as kind of disrupting everything else, right? They have the potential to really disrupt so many markets, whether that's from selling cars, selling properties, like legal documents, like the possibilities really are endless. I think the biggest issue is the incumbents within those industries who are making a lot of fees on a lot of these processes, trying to block it. But I think the tech is inevitable. And in terms of like thinking through some of the real world use cases we're going to see coming up, I think it's really interesting. I know like Ollie in the chat has said about collaborating with Web2 companies. That's kind of what we've done at Teddy DAO, is partner with Just Giving, who's one of the largest online charity platforms in the world. Just went to them, approached them about NFTs, educated them a bit, and then got them on board to do this trial with us with Teddy DAO to try try and get more crypto donations through their platform and for them to be able to teach charities about it. And it's amazing how receptive these companies are. And obviously Polygon are doing a great job of that, of just going out and they're kind of paying for it, which is maybe not the best approach, but I think it is just about a learning curve. And would love to get some of your guys' thoughts on where you see the real world use cases and the growth in the coming years.
Yeah, I can jump in on that. I think of NFTs like, if we look at, again, going back to internet protocol, packetization, and how, we've come up with a way to connect systems together, right? It's just information moving back and forth. And, people are inherently social creatures, right? We go out, we connect. The internet and the technology we use are just tools. Really, at the end of the day, it's about people connecting with other people. And I look at, the standard and NFTs and tokenization as a whole as just another way to connect with each other, right? So if you think of tokenization as just tokenize everything or anything in our lives, right? I mean, it doesn't fit always, but there's lots of places that this is going to fit. So, we can think of things like, definitely with identity, the health system, governments. Like as soon as you get identity, now you can vote, you can have your medical records, you have all these things that are attached to you as a person. And if they're tokenized, they can be split down or they can have rules associated with them. There's lots of, it's endless what you can imagine, really, what can be done with it. And we as creators of tokens and of NFTs, we already know that you can take the NFT standard. The NFT standard is just that basic connection layer. Then you can do whatever you want on top of that. We can write our own rules that are unique to that token that make it, have a specific function or property that gives it more meaning or something in its, connection layer in its ecosystem. So that's what excites me, is that there really is no limit. It's just, we can just tokenize the world and we're going to find out, what's going to survive through that. Some of the ones that that are coming out that are standardized that excite me are the rental and lease protocols. I think Double Protocol is now on Moonbeam, and that's kind of an extension to the NFT standard. So if you think of the NFTs as the base, we have these kind of extensions, soul-bound tokens. So these are the tokens that are non-transferable. They're bound to a wallet. They're gonna give some sort of property that now is kind of tied to you. So kind of think of yourself like this, and now you're kind of layering these things around you, but you still have these like transferable tokens or pieces. And I use the word token, and it's an old word that you would see in conversation, like, here's a token of gratitude, or here's a token of my appreciation. It's how we do things. But now we're digital citizens. We've grown up, the next generations are growing up in a digital society. So now this token of gratitude is literally a token, digital tokens that are being transferred between people. And I think we're leaving this era of, we like the first NFT, let's say, notable ones, let's say on Ethereum with CryptoPunks and CryptoKitties and those ones, and, the Bored Ape and these big collections with, lots of money associated. They're very exclusive and kind of, we'll call them small collections, but I kind of imagine a future where we're going to see tokens becoming a lot more like liquid, a lot more like a stream. You're going to be streaming tokens out and streaming tokens back in again. It's going to be flow. It won't be static, on and off anymore. It'll just become, highly liquid transfer. That's kind of what I see. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I think I really like the idea of the soulbound token, and also the OAT, which is the on-chain achievement token. So just imagine if a real life certification of like when you complete something, or when you complete a course or something like that, and you receive an OAT to certify that you have completed that one, and it cannot be changed, and it will stay there on the chain, on the on-chain record. And it gives much more the credibility to the holders of that NFT. And also that's going to be a really awesome application of NFT in that case. And talking about Moonfit, I think that what we are doing right now is also, it should also be considered as a real world use cases, because with Moonfit NFTs are uh, they will receive the motivation to get started training and maintain that exercising and healthy habit. And just let's say if you are a Web2 users, right? Let's say you are a Web2 user, and with Moonfit NFTs, you're gonna be able to enjoy a whole new world of training experience. We design the gamification factor like the daily quest or task or challenge, so that our users will feel like they're playing games, not training. They will feel like playing games in happiness. So that's a whole new experience for the Web2 users. And for the Web3 users, what they're gonna receive from Moonfit, from the use case of Moonfit here, is not just the monetary rewards like the tokens or this token or that token, but they also receive the social rewards, which is kind of like related to the emotion factor, right? Everybody has the inner urge and inner um, need to show off their training resources with the community of like-minded people, and in that way they will be motivated more to do that, to keep doing that, and to keep developing and to keep contributing to the community. And I think that bringing NFTs into the fitness and the health is also a real world use cases that Moonfit is building right now.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like I remember, I don't know if you guys had it in your countries, but in the UK when we were younger, we could get swimming badges, and you'd swim 50 meters, and everyone would sew it onto their towels at school. Then 100 meters, and you'd sew it on, and you'd like, if you had 200 meters, your towel was the best. But like similar, like everyone likes that status, that sense of accomplishment, and it will be no different online, right? And it being able to show those sort of symbols in a legitimate and trustless, verifiable way is going to be big. And especially around even like credentials, like you were mentioning. I know there was a rumor at my high school that someone managed to hack into the system and change his A-level grade so he could get accepted into uni. Like you wouldn't be, if it was all NFTs, your like results, you wouldn't be able to do that. So just even small use cases like that, I think, are gonna disrupt a lot of places. So yeah, definitely interesting one. And then I guess if we, oh yeah, sorry, go ahead, please.
Not to jump on what you were saying, I think as well in many countries, especially developing countries, the problem of, for example, properties or some serious documentation is easily, like you can easily make fakes. So NFTs could solve those issues in those countries, which is probably like a big chunk of the countries on the planet. And that could also help reduce the overall level of violence that can be involved, when someone is trying to grab the land of someone else. If they can have a formal proof, that of course supposes some recognition from the state, but I think in a longer perspective of maybe 20 or 30 years, we might see that it's used as a proof of even identity, ownership of some major properties.
Yeah, it's such a good point, and I think depending on where you live, you sometimes don't realize how much of an issue things like that are, and how much crypto, from a financial point of view, and also like NFTs from that point of view, could actually revolutionize the way people live their lives. It's just about getting it out there and educating, I think. So like leading on quite nicely from that, I guess, in terms of growth, obviously NFTs have grown since inception, especially in the last 2 years, rapidly, but I mean, still nowhere near where the potential could be. So I'd love for us to just think about some of like the current challenges, limitations that we've seen with NFTs, and how you think we can address those and attract more users and even creators going forward. So Leon, why don't you kick us off with that one?
Yeah. No, definitely. We saw a big rise over 2020 and 2021, and then a large decline over the last year and a half as well. So it's definitely cyclical in terms of adoption rate of this technology, and what current like limitations I see are, I think I can see a few major ones. Well, we talked about friction a bit earlier, and I definitely think that there is friction to owning one, meaning most platforms, they accept external wallets, so you need to know what wallet app you can trust. You need to know what self-custody means. You need to keep your own keys, and then even on-ramp oftentimes to buy some gas tokens on a particular chain to buy an NFT somewhere. And this is of course many different steps you need to undertake to buy something. Albeit there are some platforms, and I think this bull run of NFTs that we experienced started with a really solid platform, the NBA Top Shots platform, that allowed you to buy with credit card, right? And basically abstract away the wallet layer as well, I believe. So in that way, really making it easy for the average consumer to buy, their favorite player digitally as a digital trading card that was actually an NFT. So I think they kickstarted the wave from my if I remember correctly, that really drove this large increase of adoption. But we seem to have sort of become more like basically the rate of innovation improved so much that there were all kinds of AI generated NFTs and many different layers, gaming, etc. that came about after that. That posed their own friction problems and made it hard again to own these things, or were complex in nature, so that there were too many layers. So long story short, I think the rate of innovation is so high that that making these things easy to acquire, easy to use, this sort of logical next step, it's lagging behind, and I definitely think that it will come, and there are already different services and different standards and ways to make this easier. But currently, gas tokens, external wallets, and complex way of on-ramping to get even one of these NFTs are three of the main issues I see currently. As well, lastly, maybe is on the artist side. Of course, the royalties issue has arisen, right? Where you were not able to really force a purchaser to pay the artist royalties because it was handled platform side, and that's also, I think, a bit of a demotivating factor currently, that it's basically a race to the bottom with all platforms basically deciding to not enforce royalties in order to stay competitive. It's also currently definitely a point of friction, at least on the sell side, right? On new artists joining in. So I think that those are all I can think of now.
I'm just going to chime in quickly as well. Great points, Leon. I was going to say, with creators, OpenSea was a big kind of instrument, I think, as well, because they had the distribution in the marketplace right there, and they created or opened up creator tools for the everyday person. Again, they took away the friction. You didn't have to understand how to make an NFT, with the contract layer. You could just go in there and upload, your images and design your kind of the business layer of your token design, and then distribute it, right? That's mass distribution. It's kind of like, Wix, using Wix instead of trying to write HTML from scratch. So as soon as you provide the tools to the people are inherently creative. They want to share. Their nature is to just push stuff out. Think of like the amount of content that goes out onto the internet every day on all these platforms like Twitter and Snapchat, and like, I don't know about you guys, but I wake up in the morning, I turn on my phone and I start sending memes to people. Like, you start watching garbage on TikTok and Instagram and you're like, oh, check this out. And that's what you do. You send stuff to your friends and you're laughing and whatever, and then you move on with your day. Then you start doing other things, right? Those are the tools, right, that make it easy for me to just push a button and send, and then I feel like a genius because hey, look at this. I didn't create it, but I'm the one that showed it to you, right? And that's kind of that social cred too, right? So I think that's where we're going to see, and it's already happening, right? Like that's where, you give the tools to people and people do use it in creative ways, right? Like, if you give us a set with, some boundaries and parameters, people will get creative. They start doing things that you would never imagine. So I think that's really what it takes, right? It's kind of opening it up like that.
I think I think that's also a problem of the barrier for the new the new users coming to Web3. But let's talk about the current limitations of NFTs in Web3 right now. I can see that currently we are still at the stage where we like the interoperability and the communication between blockchains and between different chains, right? As I said it earlier, we are still hoping and heading for the cross-chain NFTs, and also the connection and communication between these different chains. And I think that Moonbeam and Polkadot here is going ahead when compared to other ecosystem, because with Moonbeam we got the connected smart contracts where we can interact with other contract from different blockchains as well, and also with the XVM we are able to transfer NFTs from this chain to another chain, and making more and more possibilities open to the users and to their experience. So I think that Moonbeam and Polkadot right now is going ahead in that technology. But what I can see here is we're still, I think that we still need more developers, NFT project developers, and also artists and designers to join with the ecosystem, right? And leverage the technology of Moonbeam and Polkadot.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think if I could just add one last comment on what has been said, I think as well the growth as well will come once most people will see the utility in NFTs. Because NFT started out as mostly an art piece in around 2020. And it gradually moved in terms of the expectations of people that now NFTs must have utilities. But those utilities, as of now, if you take the average of the person on the planet, the average internet user, it's still a bit hard to grasp for many of them. So I think, for example, gaming could be one of the ways to create utility for NFTs, because if we think about the development of Web 2, this is basically how a lot of people got onboarded on Web 2. Like a lot of people decided to buy a computer so just they couldn't play games. So NFTs that could have a utility such as gaming, running, or something else can be a good way for people who don't care, for example, about stuff like DeFi because they think it's too complicated or they don't really understand it, or people who don't really are too worried about decentralization of privacy, which are like the main drivers of many people who got in early in the cryptos. Those people could be maybe attracted and help the growth of the NFTs overall by something fun, I think. So games is one of them. And as we mentioned earlier, like some sort of recognition or like some sort of badges as a fun way to prove that you achieved something is also a great way to promote growth for the NFTs overall.
Yeah, I think gaming is the one that keeps coming up and cropping up across wherever I'm listening or reading or speaking to people as the most obvious way to kind of infiltrate. And there is a bit of a resistance within the traditional gaming industry for NFTs for whatever reasons. But it seems to me like one of the biggest use cases, right? My mum plays Candy Crush on her phone. She can barely work an iPhone, but she plays Candy Crush and she buys £2.99 worth of coins to level up and stuff, get power-ups. If you could just tell her, oh, like that power-up you just bought, once you've used it, you can then sell it again, that would probably blow her mind. And it's as simple as just being able to sell it. And then suddenly the, whatever it is, 70 billion of mobile gaming spend there is a year is suddenly then transferable and people can get value back. And then obviously people can clip the producers can clip royalties. But that seems like quite an easy way to get people thinking about it. It's just like you can basically, whatever you just bought, you can now sell in the game, and it's a marketplace. So I'd love to see that sort of area being developed. I know a couple projects that are working on that. And I guess now if we think about collaborations and how important these are going to be in terms of the growth of our industry, and we kind of touched on bringing in brands and Web 2 like we're doing with Just Giving. But I mean, Peter, for you guys at Moonfit, this is obviously a huge area you can focus on in terms of the fitness industry and partnering. So we'd love to hear what you guys are up to with that.
Okay, thank you. Well, actually, Moonfit, we think that collaboration not only between Web 2 and Web 3, but also within projects in Web 3 are really important for the growth of the project, because we always believe that in order to go big, we cannot go alone. We cannot do it alone, and we still need help. We still need help from our great friends. We still need help from our great partners to help us reach the goal that we wanted. So, in terms of the real world brands that we are thinking right now, I can say that Moonfit has an in-app marketplace. We call it the Moon Shop, in which we will be selling the fitness related products, from like fitness clothes or a water bottle, or any kind of like supplements that are related to fitness. And also on that in our marketplace, we're going to be selling the merchandise as well. So in this case, there are many possibilities. We can partner up with the real world brands, like the fitness brands, or the fitness brands that's selling these products, and also the wearable devices as well. They are also a potential partners when we work with them to like help the users to track and record their activities better. So our founding company is also a Web2 business, a traditional business that focus on e-commerce and merchandise industry. And we can create every merchandise, like from what we are wearing right now, or what we use for the decorations in the house, or what we need for the training. So I think that in the merchandise and also in the fitness brands or anything like that, these are all the potential partners that can collab with Moonfit to give users more options. And these are sold on the in-app marketplace, in which users can use their rewards from burning calories and from their activities to buy these products. So they will feel like their activities and their training has been paid off. And not only, as I said before, not only in just tokens, but also in the real products that they can touch and they can use every day, right? So they will. I think that this is a kind of like a really interesting application and interesting collab that Moonfit can be thinking right now. And just a little sneak peek, and we are going to open the in-app marketplace on the Moonfit app on mobile next month, April. So please stay tuned with that.
Alpha, nice. That's what we like.
Yeah, I think first of all, congrats, because it's very interesting, and I think it's a very interesting case of like collaboration that can be implemented. One other that I could see is also using, again, for example, using game as the entrance door. You can think that it can bring people from outside the traditional blockchain ecosystem, people who are maybe not familiar with DeFi or with other blockchain-related projects, maybe about privacy, to see partnerships between games and DeFi projects. It's what we are trying to establish, for example, with The Great Escape. We are partnering up with DApp Finance. So the idea is that we try to create those sort of bridges between different worlds that don't necessarily talk to each other. So maybe, you have some people who were just dipped into crypto gaming during the 2020-21 wave. But those people may be not very confident about using DeFi or really understanding how a stablecoin works, for example. Or we can think about applications with like a double protocol, where you have like these advanced renting protocols that may be tough to understand for someone who just barely use crypto at all. So if you create a way through gaming to give a good incentive to people to go learn more about the ecosystem, that can be a good way as well to create some sort of like cross collaboration between different projects. And you can link that to outside crypto as well, because thanks to a game, again, if you can manage to have people not even really realizing that this is actually using the blockchain technology, and that, if I play a bit and I learn about this, or I can use this sort of feature in the game through another partner, maybe all of a sudden I just got introduced to DeFi and I've never been using that before. So I think that in that aspect, collaborations between projects that don't normally interact too much with each other until now, thanks to NFTs and their applications, is going to be possible to see sort of new synergies that promote, I think, not only the growth of all the different projects, but also the level of education and of involvement of the people who might use them.
I think most important of all, it's going to bring more experience. I mean, more unique experience for users as well, because they will have more utilities on the NFTs they hold, right? So yeah, please go ahead if I'm interrupting someone.
No, it's all right. I was going to say we have a great example of that as well, where we partnered with a DeFi application and basically rewarded the DeFi application's users with items in our game if they were part of their DAO, or they were part of a governance proposal, or they staked in a particular pool. They would all get a unique one out of very limited character that was that's playable in BitHotel. The protocol is called Alpaca Finance. It's one of the larger DeFi protocols on Binance Smart Chain, and yeah, it was a great success. There were like a small portion of like governance guys that got really like a high rarity item in our game, and it's just like a lot of fun to allow users to participate in multiple ecosystems and give them perks as well that they might not expect at first. So yeah, I definitely think this is a great way also to market a project.
Yeah, definitely. And with NFTs, there's always been this kind of battle between exclusivity and accessibility and different projects, right? Like part of the whole ethos behind a lot of these things is the exclusivity of it and being in the club. And I know that's how we went about with the Kusama Kings, just 110 and becoming part of this club and feeling exclusive and it being something. But then that's not going to help onboard the next 1 million users, right? So there is, and it doesn't have to be one or the other, right? It can be a bit of a mix of both. So some projects will cater for that mass market and others for the more exclusive. So love to get your guys' takes on where you think that lands and where and how you think we balance that.
Yeah, I would like to take that one. If I understand correctly about exclusivity and accessibility, I think that accessibility is what we should care about right now, as we all have been discussing right now. That is the barriers, right? We need to remove the barriers for the new users, and which is the accessibility for a mass user audience. So the exclusivity or accessibility, it will also depend on the purposes and the intention of the project and the nature of the project itself as well, because there are certain types of projects that they want to promote the scarcity or the rarity of the NFTs, and there are some other that want to have as many NFTs minted as possible. They want to expand the reach of the user base, and also to expand the holders of that NFTs. So what we should care about right now, I think, is how to make NFTs so easy and accessible, that in a way that people with a smartphone, they can trade NFTs, they can use NFTs for various activities, and they can all do that on a phone. And that is how I think about accessibility for users here. And about the exclusivity and accessibility, it also depends on the nature of the projects.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good
I
point.
agree. You make a very good point with the. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
You make a very good point. I think with the mobile phone and the easiness of access, I think is very, very important to the development of NFTs as a mass product, basically. I think one other aspect is the price. We've seen the development of NFTs being centered around a few major collections that became nearly priceless. Like I can think of Bored Apes, we can think of any of the Azuki or any big collection on ETH. And as much as it was useful for the beginning of the development of the technology, I think that those days will be not over, but it would be rarer and rarer, I think, in the future to see NFT collections that can reach such extreme value. Why? Because also there will be less need for that. So usually it started as a niche kind of luxury product, and I think it will. Sorry, my bad. Just 1 second.
It happens. It happens. No worries.
Let's give him a second. There he is.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry about that. I thought I put it on plane mode, but it didn't work as intended. When it comes to the accessibility, I think it goes with the price. I think in the future NFTs should, like a lot of them, to be massively used, should be extremely affordable. Should be in touch with a general market. So I can think of gaming again, but there are many other examples. If you play mobile games, as you mentioned earlier, KBL, on Candy Crush, most of the players, they're going to make a purchase of a few dollars, right? You will rarely have people who would spend a lot of money. However, the people who spend a lot of money on those games, they can represent up to 50% or more of the total income of a game. So I think what we will see is the coexistence of the two things. We will see some very cheap NFTs that everyone can use and can afford. And at the same time, I think we will still see some expensive ones, as long as they're associated with utility in terms of the project. And of course, I think when it comes to more art related stuff, maybe like we can consider Bored Apes like just a pure art project. It would be, I guess, like Van Gogh or other extremely expensive paintings, which is a totally different market. It will not be linked to utility. It will maybe purely artistic or purely in terms of like the status of having, say, a Bored Ape. So I think what we will see is a sort of like simultaneous development. On the one side, I think many more very cheap or actually as affordable NFTs for the masses to use. And we will see some sort of like luxury/niche segment that will keep on developing, I think, as long as it's linked to maybe, I don't know, an exclusive access to 5-star hotels all year round, or to something more niche.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I want to maybe give a little analogy, or how do you call it, like little story. I think Axie Infinity plays an interesting role in this exclusivity versus sort of openness or accessibility, I guess is the word, debate, wherein they decided to go the direction at the beginning of like users have to buy into the game. They have to buy a deck of Axies in order to play the game, which served them at first. Well, their game economy sort of depended on it, I guess. But this, at a certain point when the game grew, basically means that you had to buy in like $500 to $1,000 in order to start playing the game, which is of course very disincentivizing for new players to join in, and it becomes more of about recouping your investment instead of having a fun game to play with friends. And well, of course, we all know what happened, but at a certain point, the economy caught up on itself. Why? Because not enough players were joining in and basically making this upfront investment to make the game economy work. And it spiraled a bit out of control after that. And now what's interesting is Axie Infinity took the other approach. They released a new spin-off of the game. I think it's called Axie Infinity Originals or something like that. It's a mobile app that's off-chain. It basically does all the things right. They removed barriers of entry. They even made, as I said, a good portion off-chain, so you don't need an external wallet or any NFTs, which is interesting, right? That they, after making such a big splash before, sort of woke up and decided, hey, we can also do it in another way, with making it more accessible, less exclusive, cheaper, and more fun, and made a profitable business out of that. So you can try it in multiple ways. There's no good or bad, but I just thought this example was a good illustration of these trade-offs.
Yeah, definitely. And Zoombies, how do you think about this as being like an NFT trading card game? That's obviously an important balance to try and get right, I imagine.
Yeah, our economy is designed specifically like that, to have exclusive parts of it, and then we have a very low barrier to entry. We have free minting in our systems. Anybody can come along and pick up a credit and then start minting. And yeah, the trend has definitely shifted where, like, on Ethereum, the cost of minting was, you'd really consider before you push a button, because the gas fees are going to get you. But like Moonbeam's been made it great. It's fractions of a penny to do a transaction. So I think it should be accessible to everybody, and I really think there's a balance there. But yeah, I can imagine a future where, if you think about status and luxury, people want to wear their, I don't know, Air Force Ones or whatever, and they want people to see that. So how do we might see some sort of way that you can represent your digital collection through some sort of physical representation, right? As we kind of walk around and do things like that. But for the rest of us, you can't afford to be in the luxury lifestyle. I can see it more as of an economic model. And then I know we have multiple game projects here. Gaming economies, I think, are the first way that we test models in the real world. So we're gamifying stuff. We're playing with game economics. And that is how people translate, into real world economics. They learn from gamified systems, and, people experiment in them, and we push the boundaries, or making up weird stuff and weird rules. But it's fun and it's playful, and, there's not, the consequences aren't maybe as bad as, they could be if you were talking about other real world things. So yeah, that's been kind of our viewpoint and approach on it.
Yeah, makes sense. I think we can all agree it's like that, finding that balance. And then I guess the big buzzword that you always hear, and I'm sure we've all heard and get asked it the whole time, is obviously utility. And that can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. I think a lot of the time it's financially motivated, you'll find, with a lot of people. But I think it's about, especially with NFTs, because they can cover so many aspects, it's about finding sustainable utilities and fun and engaging. Like, utility to some people is purely just being part of a community and engaging with people each day, going to IRL events and things like that. And NFTs allow people to do that, and allows the creators to be able to come up with fun, engaging, and different ways. So what kind of utilities are you guys looking and exploring with, and think will stand the test of time? Leon, why don't we'll start with you at Beer Hotel.
Good question. I definitely think there's a number of very solid utilities nowadays, but let me take sort of the opposite answer of the questions. And what utilities do I think are very unsustainable? I think this is a more fun answer. So if we all remember, a few years ago, there were these NFT collections which basically gave you access to private persons, their time, like Gary V's, I think it's called V Friends or something. Yeah. They gave, they give users access to Gary Vaynerchuk's time, and I think this is very unsustainable, and it gets less fun pretty fast. I must imagine for Gary in this case. So I think these sort of access to persons, or maybe to one-off of things will slowly die out and will become less fun. And in terms of the utilities that are maybe close to that, but more sustainable, or access or private member clubs, or to restaurants. I think if the NFT gets burned or something after X number of users, this stays sustainable. Otherwise, it might not. And in-game utilities, I think are perfect. On the soulbound side, it makes a lot of sense. I believe the word soulbound comes from World of Warcraft, so soulbound tokens definitely make a lot of sense to connect to a player's native wallet, make them non-transferable. And before I give all the answers, maybe any of you can pick up from there.
I can chime in with that as well. Definitely great points. And, I guess a recent experience of my own was I went to go meet with my lawyer about my will. Kind of aging myself maybe by saying that, but it's something you have to do. If you're going to be adulting in any fashion, you're going to take care of things in your life, right? And in your legacy and things, and that makes you start to think about succession planning of information of any kind, right? I can definitely see that utility. Like one of the questions I had, because go there and you sign it and they kind of put it in an envelope and stick in a box. I'm like, so who's taking care of that box and where does that information going to live? And when you're gone, because my lawyer is older than I am, and I'm thinking, so what happens when you leave? I didn't, I'm trying to say it politely to him. So what happens when you're gone? What happens to all of these wills that we've all signed? And he's like, well, we make sure that it's in this kind of vault. And he kind of actually didn't give me a good answer. I didn't have a good feeling when I left. I kept thinking this got to be on the blockchain. Like, all these wills should be on the blockchain because that's immutable data. I signed it and nobody should be able to change that even after my death, right? So I think utility like that, like to me, if I wasn't making zombies, I should be making a wills blockchain for the legal industry globally because that is needed, right? So there's so many things I think that can happen here, but that's one example of a recent experience. And then, again, it's that thought process, right? You walk around the world, ask yourself this question after this call, for the next few days, anybody that's listening, and just look at the world and say, could this be tokenized? Like, would it benefit, or is it going to be in the way? If it's friction, we don't need it. There's lots of database things we can use. Like, there's lots of tools that do things, but if it's immutable, data you don't want to change, proof of ownership and succession and historical ledger, it should be tokenized, in my opinion. And then, on the other side of that too, there's lots of experimental gamified ways that we can try to create new NFT models. So one of the ones I came up with this morning sounds a bit weird, but I thought, what if you had this game where, because like our whole, premise is connecting people like in different ways, right? Through these digital tokens. So what if we made like an NFT hot potato game? It's like, you're passing NFT to your buddy and you send it to the next guy, and on one of the blocks, it's going to explode and it might take down a bunch of your game tokens. So everybody's passing this token around, hot potato token, and then boom, you lose like, I don't know, 100,000 game tokens because you were holding the potato at that time. Like, how quickly would you want to transfer that NFT off of your plate? Something like that, right? So there's lots of fun, weird, experimental things that I think we could do that's still to come. Trademark that hot potato by the way, guys. Just kidding.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I think we're just very much at the early stages of creativity in this space, right? I think it's an amazing place to be, and everyone on this call and everyone listening is probably going to be looking back in 5-10 years being like, wow, how far has this come? It's absolutely insane. From people talking about hot potatoes, NFTs, to now trading my house with an NFT. So we're just about out of time. We've got a minute left. If people did have any questions from the audience, then you can also post on the Twitter thread, and I'm sure all of us will go review that and answer anything that anyone had. So I don't know if anyone had any closing thoughts at all, or wanted to say where people can find you, and then we can wrap up this amazing session.
Yeah, okay. I probably go first. Okay, guys, thank you very much for this amazing space. It's a pleasure for me to meet you guys here and talk to you guys about unique insights about NFTs. And to be honest, I learned a lot from this space. I learned a lot from this talk. And yeah, Moonfit is having a lot of activities and having a lot of new features coming out in upcoming weeks, coming months, and it's gonna be really busy months for us from now to the end of Q2. We're gonna have the integration with wearable device, in which we're gonna be open to more sports, not only running right now, but we're gonna be open to swimming and cycling as well. So along the way, as I said, we're gonna have the referral feature, in which comes with the in-app marketplace, where players and users are able to buy the NFTs from within the app, and not they don't need to go to Tofu NFT to buy the NFTs as anymore. So yeah, on Twitter, please follow Moonfit. The handle is Moonfit Official, and follow and turn on the notifications to do not miss the latest updates from us. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I guess I'll go second then. I wanted to thank you everyone for joining us tonight, and thank you for as well. It was really interesting to discuss with you about the NFTs in the future. So when it goes to us, so GLMR Apes and The Great Escape, we are launching our mobile app in 1 month. The game has been operating before in browser. So you can now all join the game it's very accessible. You can rent an NFT on Tofu using either GLMR or D2O. It costs just a bunch of cents to enter the game. So yeah, we hope to have the chance to see you there. We're active on Discord, Telegram, and Twitter. You can find us at GLMR Apes. That's all. Thank you all, and I'll leave the other say goodbye as well.
All right, I'll go next. Yeah, thank you all for the time, for the insights. I'm really excited about the Moonbeam ecosystem, and I'm sure we'll all grow together. Yeah, in terms of BitHotel, I think you can find our official channels on bithotel.io. Definitely sign up. It's completely free. You don't need the wallet. You don't need any NFTs. Yeah. Have fun. Mobile app is coming out in a few weeks, so definitely don't miss that. And I'll see you guys around.
I can go next here. Yeah, great conversation. Thanks for having me. Hope I didn't bore anybody, because I, go to family dinners and talk about NFTs all day and night, and so it's great to be in great company with people that are just as passionate. If you want to find out more about Zombies World, you can go to zoombies.world. That's our main website and entry to our social channels and the app and everything else. And upcoming, we're just about to launch on Moonbeam, so check us out there. We just dropped all of our sold down VIP tokens to people that were in our Moonriver and BSC kind of early adopters. And yeah, we got a bunch of cool stuff that we're trying out, and responsive mobile accessible app that's coming out very soon that we think is a pretty fun viral hook in it. So come and try us out. Again, a little barrier to entry, and everybody's welcome. So thanks again, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And yeah, please follow us at Teddy DAO NFT. We'll be launching in the next couple of weeks, so any support is welcome. So yeah, once again, thanks everyone, and we'll hopefully see you on the next Moonbeam Universe. Bye.